Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Dojo Live. I'm Tulio Suragusa, broadcasting from Southern California. Today is Wednesday, July 28th, 2021. Almost the end of July. Wow, it's mid past the midpoint of the year. Time flies when you're having fun. And we're having fun again today with my co-hosts, Kim Lantis in Hermosillo, Mexico, and Carlos Ponce in Cuernavaca, Mexico.
Thank
And
Yeah,
you.
we'll see how much fun today is.
well,
Disclaimer:
we're gonna have
I'm
it's
downstairs
always
alone with
fun.
my two kids, so we'll see how this goes.
Like we always say, it's a serious show by not so serious people. So today we have our guest Shannon Ferguson, who's the co-founder and CEO at FanSaves, who's broadcasting from Ontario, Canada. All right, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad to be here.
We're happy to have you here. So we're talking about some fun topic today, which is about sports, right? We're talking about sports and fans and the digital age. Oh my goodness, I'm picking up a lot of noise all of a sudden.
Is that you?
Uh, I don't know who that is, but
Not me.
let's get to know Shannon a little bit before we dive into the topic. Shannon, please introduce yourself to the audience.
Oh, yeah. So thank you guys again for being here today. I am Shannon. I'm the co-founder and CEO of FanSaves, a sports tech startup based in Ontario, Canada. And what we're doing is really helping sports teams and other organizations to increase their sponsorship revenue. And we're bridging the gap between sponsors, fans, and teams. So our platform, FanSaves, gives fans discounts and deals from the sponsors of their favorite teams.
That's great. Thanks for telling us about FanSaves. Tell us a little bit about you. How did you get here? How did your journey bring you to this idea? What have you done in the past? Were you in sports marketing your career? How did you get here? Please tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I grew up playing competitive hockey, had a dream to play in the Olympics, and an injury sidelined me just after high school, after I was scouted to play in university. And from there, I graduated university. I started a career in sports marketing, and I was like living in Montreal. I was living in Calgary. I was living in Toronto, enhancing my marketing career. And in 2015, my mom actually passed away. So I moved home. And it was from there that I ended up starting my own marketing business. And one of my clients was a professional hockey team here, right in my hometown. And I ended up meeting Chris, who was a player. He broke his finger. He moved to the front office. We took over the sales and the marketing, selling sponsorship and everything like that. And from there, like we also are dating. But then it was when we were working together that we created FanSaves in 2017 to solve a sponsorship problem we were running into. So I've definitely had a really exciting career, twists and turns, definitely not linear. But I think that's what makes a startup founder so gritty.
I love it. Okay, so two injured athletes started a business. And so and they lived happily ever after.
The punchline of a joke.
I was working on one. I failed miserably at it. Well, it's great to have you. Let's go right into the topic today because there's a lot to learn here today. Kim, would you kindly introduce the show?
Yes, thank you, Tulio. Thank you, Shannon, for being here. It's nice to see you again, Carlos. So the topic as chosen by you today, Shannon, is why it's important to bring sponsorship into the digital age and better engage sports fans. My first question, aside from why, when I look at this tagline, I think, why does sports, if we're talking professional sports, why is sponsorship even a necessary element? Because in my mind, my layman, non-athletic life, I see all this sports gear and everything. You hear multi-million, hundreds of millions, maybe into the billions of value of certain sports teams. So how does sponsorship in sports come into play? And why is that important?
Yeah, that's a really great question. And I think a lot of people don't understand how big sponsorship really is. Every year around the world, $60 billion is spent by businesses to sponsor different sports teams, different events, different any times, like different schools. Anytime you see at an event, you see a poster that's up and it has a logo on it, or you're at a game and you see something come across the scoreboard. That's sponsorship. And sponsorship is really all around us. And a lot of people don't even realize that it is sponsorship. So, teams, especially I got my start in the minor professional leagues. A lot of what we rely on and that these teams rely on is sponsorship. So that sponsorship money that we bring in does pay for the sticks and the equipment, and it helps to pay for the ice or the stadium and the rentals. So, ticket sales is another big part. And a lot of people think, oh, well, just ticket sales, that's what pays for everything. But those community sponsors that are sponsoring teams or events or organizations, they're crucial because that propels everything forward. But what we were noticing is that these businesses are putting their hard-earned money and sponsoring and really just getting, a logo on a sign, and it wasn't helping them actually bring people into their stores to spend money. The return on investment wasn't there.
Okay, so thank you. It makes a lot more sense because I'm sitting here thinking, like National Hockey League, NFL. I'm like, why can't they sponsor themselves? But we're really talking about more the grassroots, the lower level community, and all the way up.
All the way up, even Major Leagues. We're in talks with multiple Major League teams right now, and it's true. Their budgets are $1 million budgets, but part of that budget, they're getting $1 million in sponsorship. They're getting the Budweisers and the Nikes. So Nikes, like let's talk Nike. They're spending a ton of money to get their brand on that field or that rink or that scoreboard. So that sponsorship is really such a big thing in all levels of sports.
Not too long ago, we had a guest on this show that we had an interesting conversation, very eye-opening conversation about when it comes to advertisers or sponsors, the product is, right? We were talking about, not to pick on Facebook, but let's talk about Facebook for a second. Someone would say, well, Facebook is the product, right? Their platform is the product. And it was eye-opening to realize that you and I are the product. We're actually the product that the platform sells us to the advertisers to reach. So from a context point of view, what I'm hearing is historically sponsor get a banner and they get some visibility, but they're not really connecting to the product of the fans, right? So what is it that you guys are doing that's facilitating this connection?
Yeah, so really, I want to kind of go back to the beginning of your kind of question. We recently did a research study because we had been seeing this for years, and we wanted to make it to solidify our findings. And what we found is that 90% of sports fans, people who identify as sports fans, can't name more than 5 of their favorite team sponsors. Like if you think about right now, think about your favorite team. Most people are like, yeah, I'm a hardcore fan. Yeah, I can name like 10 sponsors. And then we say, okay, do it. And they can name like 1 or 2. So for us, we really wanted to bring fans, give fans a way to engage with sponsors outside of the stadium or outside of the arena on non-game days, in the off season, and even after games. So what we do is our platform offers fans discounts and deals from these sponsors so that you can go on at any time and see all of these local brands, national brands, see those businesses that are spending their money and actually support them, because we've all been in cities, you're there and you want to go out to eat or you want to stay at a hotel and you have no clue where to go. But now you can actually use FanSaves to figure out, okay, I'm going to go here, that they support my favorite team. I want to support them.
Shannon, let me ask you something. We're talking about better engaging sports fans. So that's my question. What have you discovered in your journey building FanSaves that works better in order to achieve this engagement at an optimal level? How do you engage or what do you consider to be an optimal engagement level for or with fans?
Yeah, so we engage with our fans in multiple different ways. One of the best ways we do it is even with push notifications. So if there's a fan that's walking by a restaurant or a retail store, and maybe they don't know that they're a sponsor, it actually pops up and lets them know, hey, you have a deal from this business because they're a sponsor of X team. And I think one of the really interesting elements of FanSaves is we like to describe it as if Instagram and Groupon had a baby. So you have to follow your favorite team. You're not just getting all these random businesses like advertising and pushing their deals towards you. You actually have to follow a team, become a fan of that team on FanSaves, and that's when you're given access to those deals from their sponsors. So people can really choose their own level of engagement. If they're a fan of 10 teams, they can follow 10 teams. But if they only have one team they're a diehard fan of, then they can stick with that team. So we've really made it interactive. And I think that's the thing that fans need, because when a fan leaves a game, they're remembering who won, who lost, how they felt at the game. Maybe if they had a few drinks with friends, they're not leaving that game and going, oh yeah, I saw 5 sponsors on the boards. Let's go eat at that restaurant.
Interesting. And as far as adoption, the level of adoption of FanSaves, what have you discovered, or what have you perceived that is your most challenging aspect that you still need to overcome? What is your area of opportunity in order to make the adoption like widespread?
Yeah, so the really interesting thing is myself and Chris, my co-founder, we are non-technical co-founders. So it took us, we've been doing this since 2017 is when we came up with the idea. We're like, let's create an app. We had no clue. We weren't even like, let's get into the startup space. We just thought we were going to create an app, and it kind of just snowballed. But what we really had to do is overcome those technical difficulties of going through different developers to get the right product, testing, having an unsellable product, having to wait for it to be recreated, and really having to start again, like Kim said, at the grassroots level. So starting with those smaller junior A teams and major junior, and really creating a footprint and making sure that we had a proven product there, and that there was a product market fit. And we didn't expect it to take so long. We were like, oh yeah, we're gonna get this in like a year. And no, it's definitely taken longer, but throw in a pandemic that also did affect everything. But now we have proven our product so much. There has been adoption. We're working with over 40 organizations across North America. We have over 500 brands offering discounts and deals. And now we are at that major league level. We're exploring partnerships with multiple NHL teams, with NFL, MLB, the USL, like so many different leagues, because now we're able to go to them with, case studies and product that is worthy of their time.
Congratulations!
Thank you, Shannon.
You just graduated from the real journey of an MBA, real life MBA.
Totally.
Kim, I know you had a question. Kim, go ahead.
Yeah, talking about product market fit, I think this is kind of timely. No one needs to be told that there's huge rivalries amongst fans and sports teams, right? Packers and Bears, and I don't know what else, like famous rivalries. If I want to support who's supporting my team, has this ever inadvertently shot itself in the foot? Like, oh, I'm not going to support that sponsor because they support my rival?
I mean, that's a great question. And I think from what we've seen is that the need to save money and the need to get a deal often overrides that like pride in your team. Because at the end of the day, all teams want each other supporting each other. Like, of course, a team wants their fans buying their merch and their tickets and coming to their games. But if I'm a Packers fan traveling to Chicago, like, why wouldn't the Packers want their fans that are going to Chicago to shop and spend money at the Bears sponsors? Because then the NFL as a whole are benefiting. So it's really what we're doing is creating the first couponing network. And of course, there's people of all kinds. There's gonna be fans that will definitely never follow a team if it's not theirs. But what I like to say is, I'm a diehard Toronto Maple Leafs fan. I'm not going to go and download other teams' apps on my phone to get a deal. But if all I have to do is follow their page on FanSaves, well, I'm 100% more likely to do that. So we actually make it easier for fans to support other teams.
That's right. I mean,
That's nice.
if Gary was such a staunch Jets fan, he wouldn't have a sports marketing business. He wouldn't do anything but the Jets. So
Exactly.
But let's shift a little bit the conversation about what it's been like, the journey of building this business. You're in sports. You're in the sports business, and unfortunately, there's still some bias in sports, especially with women. So, what's that been like for you as a woman in sports? Can you share what you've learned, what you've had to overcome, what are still opportunities for making changes in this space? Please let us know what that's been like.
That's a great question. And I think, over the past 4 to 5 years, if I got asked this question like 5 years ago, I would have had a completely different answer because I grew up, playing hockey with the boys. I grew up hanging out with the boys and being a cool girl that like could kick it with the guys. And I think that kind of like creates a different like mindset for women where it actually, and I tell this story a lot, it was actually Chris who brought it to my attention that, it's not cool that when I'm like in the front office for the hockey team we worked for, and the owner or, guys on the team are cracking jokes that are like sexualized towards me. And in the past, I would just like laugh it off or like give them a joke back. It was Chris one day actually, and then he does it more and more often, and now I can do it for myself. But it was Chris the first time. He's like, "Hey man, that's not cool. Don't talk to her like that." And it was the first time where I was like, yeah, I guess that's not right. So since then, I've really been able to, work on finding my voice because there is so much unconscious gender bias in sports, in startups, in the world. Women have it, men have it. We often just have this sense that it's funny or that it's just a joke, but it gets embedded. So, I think working in sports, I've been called, I mentioned this before, but people have thought that I'm Chris's secretary, or, we'll be at an event and they're talking to him about like an NFL trade. And he's like, actually, you're going to want to talk to Shannon about the NFL because that's her thing. He's like, I don't follow it as much. So it's really refreshing to have such a strong ally in my co-founder and my life partner, where it's really helped me find my voice because it does exist and I think it needs to be talked about.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it totally does. When it comes to sexualizing or even jokes, I think the quickest way to shut that down is just to be like, I don't understand. What did you mean by that? Please explain.
Yeah, it's so true.
Go ahead and mansplain that.
Yeah,
and it's so true. I was at a conference just before, like a year before COVID, and there was this man, and I was with my younger, like blonde little employee, like innocent girl, and I was talking, like I was having just a confident boss moment, and he looked at my employee and he goes, "Oh, she really knows how to crack the whip, eh?" And he's like, "Oh, I bet you like chains too." And I was like, and in that moment, that was actually one of the first times I looked at him and I was like, yeah, I don't appreciate you speaking like that. And he was kind of like, oh no, I didn't mean it like that. I got all tongue tied. So I was like, wow, that's
what did you mean? So what did you mean? Yeah. So are there any other tactics that you've come up with or like maneuvers that you could share with women who unfortunately get in this power play moment? Like what has worked for you to sort of shift it or to rightfully claim what is yours to claim with, do you have any tactics or ways?
Yeah, that's a really great question. I love that you asked that because like off the top of my head, I think, I'm in a bit of a unique situation because I did grow up around guys. So I kind of know how they think and I know like kind of how to address the situation, even if I'm like telling them not to speak like that. So I think one of the biggest things for me is like, I'm not very easily offended. But I now know how to say, okay, that is something that should be offending. Like that should offend me. So I think like at the base of it, it's kind of just not taking yourself too seriously, but also understanding that you should have a voice, that you should speak up for yourself. And you can do it in a way that's still very nice. You don't have to be mean. You don't have to like yell at a man, because that's just probably going to cause like drama. So there are ways to, you know, softly tell them like, hey, that's not cool. And I think that that's where like a lot of the disconnect comes in, where women think that they have to be like aggressive to be like assertive, you know? And it's like, no, you can make a joke and make them feel like they should have rethought that, you know?
You know, this is very interesting and eye-opening, because I would think some of these things are just they've been around for so long that men don't even realize they do it. So it's in most cases just lack of awareness. That is not okay. It's not appropriate. Even let's look at what happened with the Olympic team, right? With the women wearing these bathing suit type of outfits, where the guys are wearing shorts. Like, it's been around for so long that, you know, it takes someone to bring awareness to say, "Hey, you know what? That's not okay. How is that a rule? Why can't they just wear whatever they want to wear?" And this is the kind of thing that we need to keep doing, is continue to bring awareness to the fact that some things, although they've been around for a long time and no one said anything about it, are just not okay. So, congratulations. Sounds like you've cracked the code on how to effectively do that, especially in a mostly male-dominated business still. Any words of advice or wisdom you have for women that are sitting on the fence about becoming entrepreneurs or business leaders in these kinds of industries that have predominantly been men dominated in the past? You know, we've seen the tech industry thrive with more women involved. The sports industry, I'm assuming, has a similar opportunity. What words of advice would you have those sitting on the fence worrying about, you know, it's going to be too hard for a woman? What would you say?
I always say just go for it. I talk to a lot of women, I mentor women, and women traditionally, more than men, are often the ones who are overthinking it. They want to have a plan. They want to have a 10-year plan. They want to have a 5-year plan. They want to have like everything planned out and perfect before they start. I mean, some men too, but a lot of women, they don't want to fail, so they want it to be perfect. And I am I'm a perfectionist. I'm a recovering perfectionist. And I've really learned that it's better done than perfect. And I translate that to other women, where I say, like, just start, because what your business is at the beginning is not what it's going to be in a year. It's not what it's going to be in 2 or 3 or 4 years. So I can understand how a lot of women, you know, have trouble wanting to like put themselves out there and just follow their dreams. And I always want to encourage women and men, but especially women, to like just start however you can do it. Just like get the ball rolling, because if you don't, and if you don't create a plan, then your dreams are just always going to be dreams. If you don't actually put action to it, what is your life going to be? You're always going to regret that.
Yeah, and I think even FanSaves is a good example of that. What you thought was going to take a year took, what did you say, 3, 4, 5?
We're in year 4.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, and I really liked what you said earlier. Also, this idea that practice doesn't make perfect. We're people. Being perfect is an impossible standard, but practice makes better. And I think that's the perspective, a very winning perspective.
Totally. And I think like a really unique perspective that Chris and I have, because we were competitive athletes, we really bring that to our business. We are, when we don't know something or need to be better, we are so committed. Like, let's practice, let's get better, let's learn how to win. Like, we at our core, like, we're very competitive. We hate to lose, but when we do lose, we do it gracefully, which also comes with like leadership and things you learn in sports. But yeah, like, I think that there's always room for practice. There's always room to be better, but you're right. Like, no one is perfect. Nothing is perfect. What you see on social media, that's not even perfect. Like, just focus on what you're doing, focus on like your goals and your dreams, and make a plan for it, and try it out, because otherwise you'll never know.
Love it.
Am I on mute? No, I'm not on mute,
No,
right? Not any longer. Yeah, because they muted me, Shannon, because there were some birds here that they had their own questions. They wanted to have a say in the conversation. So, Shannon, one more thing. Well, we're approaching the final segment of today's conversation, and I wouldn't want to end it without asking you about one specific aspect about fan saves. And this is because a lot of the viewers out there might be watching. I don't know if because you're a growing company, there might even come work for you at some point if they reach out to you. Um, so, to these people, what would you tell them in terms of what FanSaves stands for? What is important for FanSaves on how to attract the best people? What is the company culture like? What's important for you when you're building a team that you consider to be a great team that you would like to work with for a long time?
Yeah, right now we're a team of 10. We have two interns, we have our developer, and then we have our amazing core team as well. So for us, again, I'll mention the pandemic. Growing a sports tech startup when you have the vision of having like a really great culture in-house, and then having to deal with a pandemic as a pretty young company, we've had to navigate that as well. So, we hire people who have drive, who have the same winning mentality as Chris and I. And our culture right now, everything is remote, but we still do like daily calls. We're actually having a great team retreat next week now that we're all double vaxxed. So really, we think of ourselves as like a sports team, just kind of like what I mentioned before. Like we want our employees to always be learning, always be getting better, to know that their captains, Chris and I, that we are here to help them. And I think that's a big part of our culture, is wanting to make sure that our employees are always happy. We believe in like making sure that they're like they let us know if they need a day off, or they let us know if they have to go somewhere for the afternoon, and they're like, oh, is this okay? And I always tell them, it's always okay. Like, it's your life and you work at our startup, and we want you to be happy and not be scared to have to ask for time off. So that's just one of these things. But Chris and I are very, we take courses on leadership. We take courses on being good bosses. And I think that's important for anyone. And I think that's why our culture, our company culture, is really good. We just hired for 2 new positions, and we had over 200 applications, which is really cool. So when we think back to our first position we hired for, and we had like 10, and we're like, okay, this is great. We've grown not only our brand, and really, not only are we just known as a sports tech startup, we're known to have good company culture, which is one of my like biggest, proudest moments.
Love it. Sounds great. I mean, that's what it comes down to, right? You want to scale your business and you want people to stay, you've got to create an amazing, compelling culture, especially as we're now entering the great resignation economy. If you lack some good EQ leadership skills and you don't focus on people, they're going to leave. It's just it is what it is today. So,
It's so true. And I'll add in too, like we remind our employees all the time, because right now we're in the middle of our seed round. We're raising investment. And I tell my employees all the time, and so does Chris, like what you are doing is so valuable, because you are able to help us to take things off our plate, to make it easier for us to do these big things, to work on the business. And we remind our employees, we make sure that they know that they are so valuable to us. And I think that that's really important. I think people in general need to know that they're valuable. They're valuable.
Absolutely. Well, it's been great. We're wrapping up. Time always flies when you're having fun, and I think we had fun. I enjoyed the We all enjoyed the conversation with you. We congratulate you on all the success. We wish you success with this round. Are you guys doing a Series A, or where are you now?
Just our seed round. So
Okay,
yeah,
seed round. Okay.
we're raising our seed round, and hopefully a Series A in the next
All
year or
right.
two.
Well, we'll keep our eyes open for your success and your growth. Sounds like you got a great foundation for people to want to be part of it. So we'll have to have you back sometime in the near future. Hear some of your success stories, see how it's coming along. Until then, just stay with us as we go off the air. Thank you, a great thank you from us for being with us. And before we go, Carlos, we got one more show tomorrow, right? Yes, let's. I'll try to do sign language while you speak on mute. Go ahead.
This was you, Ruben, wasn't it? No, I'm just kidding.
Gotcha.
I don't know. Anyway, yeah, tomorrow we're going to be speaking with Haynes Bend, the CEO of Breathing.ai, an artificial intelligence company, and the topic is going to be this. I think it's timely too because it's about screen time. So healthier is screen time in the blink of an eye, and with AI, we're going to be discussing on how to personalize screens and technology as a whole to our well-being so that users feel and perform better. That's what we have tomorrow right here on Dojo Live at 12 p.m. Pacific. So join us and stay safe, everyone. And thank you, Shannon, for being with us. Please stay with us as we go off the air. Please.
Thank
See you
you.
guys soon.
See you soon.